This is the record of an outstanding tour to the People's Republic of China. The visit included Beijing, the Forbidden City, the Summer Palace, the Great Wall of China, Xian, where we saw the Terracotta Warriors, and the city of Shanghai. The main attraction for the day, and indeed for the tour, was the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall is a series of fortifications generally built along an east to west line across the historical northern borders of China to protect against the raids and invasions of various nomadic groups. The majority of the existing wall is from the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644. The Ming walls measure 5,500 miles. The entire wall, with all its branches, measures out to be about 13,000 miles. Carnell and I climbed to the tower there that's indicated by the arrow at the top of the picture. An interesting point was learned about the towers along the wall. They are spaced at a distance of which archers stationed at each tower could accurately defend half the distance to the next tower. Up to 25,000 towers are estimated to have been constructed on the wall. Over 1 million workers, some slaves, some criminals, spent 7 years building 5,000 miles of the wall. Individuals were required to work on the walls as a satisfaction of their taxes. Many died while working on the wall and were entombed in the wall. We were told the story of Lady Meng Jun and her husband. Her husband, after 3 days of marriage, came to work on the wall. She spent over 2.5 years walking along the wall looking for her husband and found that he had died on the project and probably was buried in the wall. There is nothing uniform about the wall as to its width or the height of the steps or the elevation, the slope that it covers. But to notice that one step is so worn, just think about the number of steps required to wear down these stairs. Traffic in Beijing is more than crowded. We waited at this corner several different times while we were in Beijing. While waiting in traffic, we saw several men going into this location on the right. It appears they were being given a meal and, at the time, perhaps wages. They have a word, something like farmers, that describes workers coming in from the rural areas to be employed in construction. They are provided housing, meals, and wages. In the evening, Carnell took a rickshaw ride and visited a 400-year-old Hutong home. There were 4 homes around a courtyard. The family is allowed to live there because the home is owned by the military and the grandfather was an officer under General Mao. He was now in a rest home and the family did not know what would happen to them if he died. Hutongs are a type of narrow street or alley. In Beijing, hutongs are alleys formed by lines of traditional courtyard residences. Many neighborhoods were formed by joining one courtyard resident to another to form a hutong. Since the mid-20th century, a large number of hutongs were demolished to make way for new roads and buildings. In Beijing, many hutongs have been designated as protected in an attempt to preserve this aspect of Chinese cultural history. This is a view of the Forbidden City taken from our visit to the Baha'i Park and what is called the White Pagoda. You see how the air was a little bit, it was probably a very clear day. Our visit to Baha'i Park in Beijing was made more interesting probably because of the retirement ages in China. The general statutory retirement age in China is 60 for men and for women 55, or as early as 50 for blue-collar women. There were many relatively young retired men and women in the park participating in activities such as exercise, dance, stage plays, and music. We were then off to the airport for our flight to the city of Xian. Xian is one of the oldest cities in China and the oldest of the four ancient capitals. Coming into Xian, we were welcomed to a small city of 8,700,000, compared to Beijing, was 21,700,000. Xian is the starting point of the Silk Road and home to the Terracotta Army. There are 700,000 Muslims living here, called Hui, H-U-I. 92% of Chinese people are Han, H-A-N. Out of the entire human population of the world, 19% are Han Chinese. The city wall divides Xian into the inner part and the outer part. The city wall is massive. It was erected in the 14th century. The base of the wall was made of earth, quicklime, and glutinous rice extract tamped together. The wall stands 39 feet high. It is 40 to 60 feet wide across the top and is 8 miles in length. There is a flanking tower every 394 feet built to allow soldiers to see enemies trying to climb the wall. The distance between the flanking towers is the range of arrows fired from either side. There are 98 flanking towers. Each has a sentry building on top of it. We had a great time touring the Xi'an city wall by bicycle rickshaw. In March 1974, a group of peasants digging a well unearthed fragments of a clay figure. Near the tomb of the first emperor of China lay an extraordinary underground treasure. An army of life-size terracotta soldiers and horses interred for more than 2,000 years. Archaeologists have located some 600 pits. 3 major pits are enclosed inside the 4-acre museum of the Terracotta Army. In one pit, long columns of warriors reassembled from broken pieces stand in formation. The soldiers exhibit an astonishing individuality. Other parts of the pits show how they appeared when they were found, with broken parts yet to be reassembled. This building is truly impressive. The emperor was 13 years old when he started having the soldiers made. They were bigger than life as he wanted to scare his enemies. He was responsible for unifying over 2,000 Chinese writing characters and measurements which helped the Chinese to be able to communicate by writing, no matter what language or dialect they spoke. He couldn't control smart people, so he buried scholars alive. Years later, Mao Zedong did about the same thing, sending scholars to hard labor. The emperor's tomb was attacked by a rebel army 4 years after his death. They took the real weapons the warriors held, broke the warriors, and then burned the tomb severely out of revenge. The emperor's actual tomb has not been excavated. As of 2012, the technology does not exist to preserve the colors of the items found in the tomb. The warriors were very colorful with black hair, pink faces, and black boots. After 2 or 3 days of exposure, the colors tend to disappear. As of our visit on 2012, pit number 1 was the largest of the 3 pits. About 2,000 warriors and horses, 20 wooden chariots have been unearthed in this pit. It is assumed that more than 6,000 terracotta warriors and horses and 50 chariots were buried in pit number 1. On the left, notice in the upper part of the photo, still broken pieces that have not been taken out and reassembled. On the right, you see a couple of the warriors there that have not been replaced with their heads. At the rear of this building, our guide pointed out what was called the hospital. In this area, craftsmen are working to restore the warriors, as most of them were badly broken. As of 2012, they had restored 1,078 soldiers. These are some of the restored terracotta warriors. They all have individualized expressions and dress, and as mentioned, they were brightly colored, but technology is not up to date in order to preserve the color found on them when they were first taken from the ground. These are terracotta warriors recently made in a clay factory. If you wish, you could purchase one or more, and if you could get them home somehow. I don't know whether you have to buy a plane ticket or how you get them home. We flew again from Xian to the city of Suzhou, another small city of 10,600,000. It was founded in the year 514 CE. This is one of the most highly developed and prosperous cities in China. The city's canals, stone bridges, pagodas, and gardens have contributed to its status as one of the top tourist attractions in China. Suzhou has been dubbed the Venice of the East, or Venice of China. This young lady was the subject of a photo session, probably for a commercial. Our tour of Suzhou included a canal boat ride. The Grand Canal is not only the world's oldest canal, it is far longer than either Suez or Panama Canal at 1,114 miles. Building began in 486 BC. Genghis Khan ordered the excavation of a direct waterway between today's Beijing and Hangzhou. On our tour, I think the lady on the left is doing laundry in the canal, and the other appears to be cleaning the night bucket. The Lingering Garden in Suzhou is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was commissioned and began in the year 1593. Hangzhou has a metropolitan population of about 21 million. It is at the southern end of the Grand Canal. Our first stop is a visit to a silk factory. We actually watched the material being made for the silk bedspread, and we actually purchased the entire set packed for our flight home. Hangzhou's West Lake is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Our tour included a boat ride on the lake. There's a beautiful park at West Lake. Here we observed people having lunch, and our guide said that the homes are so small that friends will meet for lunch in the park. Shanghai has a population of more than 24 million. It is a global financial center. The Bund, B-U-N-D, is a waterfront area in Shanghai. This was formerly the international settlement, home to embassies and banks from other nations. It is one of the most famous tourist destinations in Shanghai. Our guide told us that when the area was occupied by foreign agencies, there was a sign at the entrance saying, "No Chinese dogs beyond this point," referring to the Chinese people. When the communists took over the country, they put up red communist flags above all the buildings, saying to the people, "These buildings belong to you." I've noted the red flags in this picture. I followed this little boy around for a while looking for a better picture, but had to decide that I best stop before somebody noticed that I was following this little boy around. He is wearing pants that are split so that when he has to go, he just squats. I think they are called split pants or eco-friendly non-diaper. We visited the Shanghai Museum. The architecture of the building was outstanding. There is marble everywhere and a gorgeous staircase. The building includes an interesting display of clothing from different areas of China from the 1950s to 2000. In China, men walk in front of women, exit elevators first, and ride in the front seat. The interior architecture of the Shanghai Museum is just absolutely gorgeous. Shanghai Chinatown. Shanghai is a recent city, so the classical Chinese buildings are in the old city, which is thus called Chinatown. The streets in China were absolutely clean. We saw several people such as these who were employed cleaning, picking up things, raking, sweeping. We think that probably their system of welfare requires that people are employed in some way, keeping their area neat and clean, and very successful at it. We saw some interesting signage in China. Sometimes something is lost in translation. The free left luggage was at a site where you could leave your luggage while touring the site. We did not figure out the omnivorously sign on the entrance at the Lingering Gardens. It says, as a beautiful environment is on all of us, please omnivorously put the waste in garbage can. Advertising quite often uses European or American models, and the boy with the wonderful pressure was at Suzhou Airport. No idea what was being advertised. This is our first guide for around Beijing and the Great Wall. This is David. We noticed that our guides appeared free to talk about the differences in living under the revolutionary system and the current system. While there are restrictions to freedom, they are very happy with the advances that have been made. It may have been David that said they could say anything they wanted about the government, but they could not get together to do anything about it. This is our guide Cindy for the area of Xian and the Terracotta Warriors. She has an older sister. When she was born, her parents had to pay a special tax until she was 5 years old, or they would lose their jobs and Cindy would have no identification and therefore would be as if she did not exist. Cindy was educated in computer science, but loves being a tour guide. Most Chinese live in apartment houses. When they buy an apartment, it is a basic concrete box. Buyers have to install electric and water service, walls, doors, everything. The government owns all the land in the country. You are allowed to own your apartment for 70 years and not know what happens at the end of the 70 years. If you live in it for 40 years and then sell it, the next owner only has the remaining 30 years. This is our third guide, Peter. Peter told us that sons are preferred, except you must provide him with a house when he marries. If the father works for the government, as Peter's father did as a policeman, then the government provided 2 rooms, one for Peter and one for his brother. Shortly after they were given these rooms, the government kicked out all the other residents to upgrade the building. You can bribe driving instructors to get a driver's license. Peter has a license, but says that he does not know how to drive. Peter told us about honoring his parents. If he found a girlfriend, he must pass approval from his father. His father vetoed his first love because she was too slim to have healthy babies. The second one was also vetoed, I believe, as because she was too highly educated. He married the third one. Peter works very hard so that he can take care of his parents when they are old. Peter's father was secretively a Buddhist and had to hide it as Mao forbid religion. Peter, dreamed of having a bicycle, which took a whole year's wage. In the 1980s, the dream was to have a TV set, a refrigerator, and a washing machine. In 2012, the dream was to have your own home. Peter recommended a future tour of China to take a Viking cruise on the river. Our guides were all outstanding. It was such a privilege to be able to tour China, to enjoy the history and the culture, and we hope that you enjoyed viewing it with us. Perhaps you'll join us on another of our tours.